Hey everybody, it's Jim Heckmeyer from the Leslie Wells Realty, and on the other end of the table is my good friend,
Realtor Tom, Leslie Wells Realty.
Tom. This is awesome, man. This one's getting close to home. We have today our friend Del Couch with us this morning. Del is a musician, music producer, music educator, and a great gentleman on top of all of that. He's huge in the music industry, locally and nationally. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning.
Good,
Nice.
man.
Thank you all for having me.
Thanks for being here. What an honor. So, how did you get? I know that you're involved in a little bit of everything, musically speaking and educational wise. How did this all get started? How did you get from there to here?
Well, I could go back a long ways to my high school days, but that's when I first found my love of music with my band director, who told me I could play anything I wanted to perform, and so I picked the trumpet and started playing the trumpet.
Okay.
And what came out of that is it actually kept me out of Vietnam. Being able to play the trumpet, he taught me well enough that I auditioned in '68 and passed only 3 musicians they took that year into the Air Force Band. And I spent my whole 4 years in the Air Force Band. Otherwise, I'd been with my buddies in Vietnam.
There you go.
And so music kind of saved my life there. So I left it for about 20 years, didn't do any music stuff at all. And then to a wedding, I found my love of music again and went back and performed at my own wedding. And then that kind of got it going again. And I thought, well, wow, I missed out on all this stuff. So when I was 50, I decided to go back to college. And I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston.
At 50 years old.
And got a master's degree in audio engineering and production. I thought I'd start a studio to help local musicians. It's always too expensive to record. And
Right.
so I started it at my house and had 5 rooms out there and a Pro Tools system and stuff. And we started recording with different people. And from that, it evolved into this foundation idea. The first student I ever recorded was at my house, and he was a Chicano rapper, which it's an interesting genre. I'd never heard of it, but
Okay.
he was my neighbor's gardener's nephew, and he never could afford studio, so we went in and produced his first CD. It was an interesting experiment. I'd never worked in that genre before. And then his family being migrants, they carried it from here to Texas and New Mexico. 3-4 months later, I got a call from Centroside Records in LA that said they wanted to sign this kid. And I'm like, well, here's his number. I don't represent them. And they signed him to a deal, and he moved to LA and sold 250,000 CDs and launched his career, did a second one, and then decided the lifestyle was not for him and exited the music business and saved his money, got an IT degree.
Okay.
So that's kind of what started me on the path. I thought, this is really cool. I just had time in it, I have equipment anyway. So I said, well, let's see if I find another kid to work with. So that's how we kind of started.
I got you.
And we've run at that home studio probably 15 or so different artists. In fact, local boy Sam Wolf, who went to Braden River High School.
That's the guy.
Sam Wolf came to me when he was 14. His grandfather brought him in, and they'd heard about what I was trying to do and said, we don't know what to do with this kid. So we worked with Sam and developed his voice and his songs. And he had written a lot of songs. And ultimately out of that, every year, starting with Sam, we try to send a student to Berklee College of Music Summer Music Camp, which can go from a couple of days to 5 weeks long. Well, Sam went to the 5-week camp, and his grandparents contributed half of the tuition. And from there, American Idol came through Boston to Berklee, who's known for music, and said, have you got anybody you think would be good for American Idol? And so we got this Sam Wolf kid, he was 17. And so he went in and sang for the producers in a hotel room, and they put him on a show.
I remember.
Just that simple. And he ended up finishing top 5 in American Idol, and now has a career ever since then. Every year he performs all over the country. And one nice thing about what we try to do is they say, well, there was no cost to Sam with anything we did, but there's a commitment to say, I'm going to give back to my community. And so every year he comes back and does a concert with us.
Is that right?
We don't pay him anything.
So, so you sponsored him basically through the foundation. Tell me about the foundation. How does that work? This is the Del Couch.
Music Education Foundation.
Okay, yeah.
It's a 501c3 that I formed 15 years ago or something. And we have a full service recording studio, which is the same as anything in Boston or New York or Nashville,
Okay.
equipment wise and technology wise. And so we started helping musicians and getting them with creating their songs and their labels and stuff like that, and not charging anything for anything. And then we'd have a student that needed a guitar, so we would get guitars, we'd get pianos, trumpets, whatever they needed, saxophones. We'd find a resource and find them an instrument. But mainly it's focused on recording and producing students' original songs.
Mm-hmm.
So we hire the studio guys from around here. We have a lot of good players in the area, and we hire them to play on their songs and then produce a CD and help them with the marketing and record labels or whatever the case may be. But and then it evolved from there. Manatee School for the Arts, Dr. Jones called me one day and said, "I see what you're doing here." And he said, "Where's your studio?" It was at my house. And he said,
Yeah.
"Well, I got this extra space. Why don't I move you over here? Why don't you come over here and won't charge you any rent? We'll fit it up like you like it, remodel it according to your specs, and you can move in here and work out of here, and we can say we have a recording studio." So it worked out good for both of us. And after a few years there, I decided that if we're here, we might as well develop a training class for audio engineers and producers, because there's no place they can go to get it locally
Mm-hmm.
in high school. And to go to Full Sail University or any of those, it's so
Takes money.
expensive.
Yeah.
So most of them never get to do it. So we started a class in audio engineering using Pro Tools. I designed a class based on Berkeley methods. It's approved by the state. So we started teaching that class there. And I myself being the only teacher, of course, but and I'm not compensated for that. The school doesn't pay us. I
Right.
mean, they give us free rent. So that worked out pretty good. But since then, since that first class, it's developed now into 4 classes, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, encompassing commercial music, production, and audio engineering. And last year, because of the changes in pandemic, the way certifications work, you usually had to go somewhere and pay a lot of money to be certified
Yeah.
in the Avid Pro Tool product, which is the de facto standard across the country. But we graduated the first senior anywhere in Manatee or Sarasota County that's actually fully certified in Pro Tools last year.
Okay.
And he's going to St. Pete College, which has a program called Musical Industry Recording Arts. 98 freshmen going there from all over, and he's the only student certified. So it's pretty big accomplishment for him and for us.
But so does this start with your foundation?
It's all part of foundation.
Okay.
Everything we do is through the nonprofit foundation, everything. And then we start producing shows, and we try to give places for young kids, performers, to be able to perform, because, if you can't perform. So we made a deal with the Braden Area Regatta 8 years ago, and we furnished all the talent up to the national acts all day long. And so we've been doing that for 8 years now. And I have 2 stages, and we try to get 15 or 20 kids out there, maybe their first show ever at 10 o'clock in the morning, and they work their way through. And some of them, like Sam, he did that. And Andy Purcell, who's another recent discovery, he did it at 10 o'clock in the morning. And this last year, he was a headliner with a full 9-piece band.
Mm-hmm.
Bella Garland, who I'll mention, but she started out with her guitar and her piano. Now she brought a band from Nashville down last year and performed.
So the other day, when my car broke down in your front yard, you were telling me about a young artist that you're very excited about.
That is Bella,
Yeah.
Bella Garland.
Yeah. How did you find her? How did she find you?
We have mentors that we pay to provide specialized instruction, i.e. like guitar and songwriting. And the mentor we use has a doctorate in classical guitar. Everybody calls him Dr. Oz. So Dr. Oz ran ads about learning to play guitar and music theory for songwriters. Bella answered that. He started working with her on her songs and songwriting, and immediately he said, we need to bring her into the studio. You need to work with this girl. So she came in when she was 16, and we started working with her, and now she's 19 and getting ready to launch a national career.
Wow.
So it's pretty cool.
That's amazing.
She's actually interning right now with one of the top songwriters in the world. He's a Songwriter Hall of Fame member. Most people don't know the songwriters, but it's Desmond Child, who wrote Living on a Prayer for Bon Jovi, Dude Looks Like a Lady for Aerosmith,
Sure.
songs for all these artists. You know, the new artist named Ava Max, he wrote her song. He's got 50 or so top 10 hits, and Bella's working with him right now in Nashville.
Good.
So, and she was told by some other producers that she could be the next Taylor Swift.
Could be the thing, Tom.
She writes incredible songs. I'll tell you what, one opportunity that came about, I've worked with a lot of different people and movie stars and rock stars and et cetera. One of them being Jane Seymour, who's on national TV.
Well, yeah.
And so Jane was in the studio. I worked with her son for a while. And Jane was being honored at a dinner in Pittsburgh for her philanthropical work through her Open Heart Foundation. And the promoter up there and our tourism bureau director from Manatee County is connected to Pittsburgh. He's from there. Said, do you think Bella could write a song about Jane's open heart philosophy? I said, sure. So she wrote it. They listened to it. They flew her to Pittsburgh. She played at a private fundraiser, massive fundraiser, $1,000 a seat, with Jane there being honored. And she sang that song by herself with her piano. Not only Jane sitting in the front row, but the Temptations, the Jacksons, and Lou Gramm and Foreigner, the mayor of Pittsburgh, 40 Hall of Famers, all listened to her, 2 standing ovations.
How about that?
So that's the way these kids get launched. Just right
See,
place,
that
right
excites
time.
you. I see the enthusiasm you have already with
Yeah,
that.
it's really cool. So I'm working on her song right now in the studio, one of her final songs, beautiful song called Dancing in the Rain. And so we'll send that to Nashville for the final production to
Okay.
put on her new album up there.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
All of this going on right here, and nobody knows about it.
well, we're kind of not super secret, but kind of secret because we don't advertise. You know, it's all word of mouth how I get these students. People hear about it and they come in. And the biggest problem is none of the schools could provide, because of whatever rules, you know, they can't provide this level of training in the engineering production side. We had another band from here as juniors in their junior year participated in a national competition during the pandemic called No Covers, which is all original songs.
Mm-hmm.
And they were selected out of about 1,000 bands in the top 10. They flew to LA during the pandemic on the shutdown and performed in one band at a time in the famous Troubadour Lounge. They played their songs in front of Alice Cooper, and he held up the sign, Penny Fountains, advanced them. So they ended up finishing 3rd in the nation in this competition. Now they're playing all over. So,
Wow.
and they do alternative pop, kind of metal pop. It's not something I listen to every day, but they're good.
Well,
They're really
you know,
good.
Chicano rap,
Yeah.
metal, pop rock, whatever.
The cool thing is they still come in the studio 2 or 3 times a week. They've learned the software well enough, and we trust them enough. They come in and record their own stuff. So I set them up, and then they record and produce their own stuff now. And they're like 20.
Yeah.
So it's
Can't beat it.
been very successful.
How about some of your past artists that you've had that come through there? You know, other than you know, again, you were connected with Sam Wolf, the American Idol finalist, but and we're not going to drop any names. Well, yes, we will. Let's do some name dropping. Who have you worked with in the past? That
On the national level,
yes,
well, Rick Derringer, who had Hang on Sloopy when he was 16 years old, #1 hit in the world, and 2 or 3 other #1 hits, and recently got to tour 2 years with Ringo Starr and the All-Star Band.
I've heard of him.
Rick's a really good guy. He
Who?
was a resident here for a while, and now he lives on the East Coast. And I work with Marty Ballin, one of the founders of Jefferson Airplane.
Starship. Yeah, Jefferson Starship.
And then Jeff Cook, I worked with him a long time, the founder of Alabama. He's a guitarist, fiddle player. In fact, I ended up going out on tour with him for a 7-state tour when Alabama was broke up. These guys did their own thing. But
I remember.
both Jeff and Marty are gone now, and Rick's still doing well. And I've worked with David Lee Murphy and one of the artists from Nashville who had a hit in the 90s called Dust on the Bottle.
Oh, yeah.
And became a writer. He's written 6 or 7 #1 hits for other people. And people take the writers for granted. They don't know. You know.
Well, behind the scenes,
Yeah.
you don't see them
So-
on stage.
And a few others. I've produced shows with the Doobie Brothers and Thompson Square and War, and there's a lot of them. But that's how I get some of these
Casual.
mentors, because they all love what we do.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all successful, semi-retired musicians, and what else they have to do but to give back?
Obviously, you know what you're doing, so that's
Well, we
that's-
think so.
That's the
We try.
attraction.
Yeah.
So, what are you seeing coming up in the future? What do you have big that's coming up?
Well, we're trying to produce a series of local shows. The problem in the community is it's gotten so big, and everybody wants to bring in an out of area name act, so to speak, which doesn't necessarily always draw people here, and the city doesn't make any money. So we're trying to produce a series of shows called Homegrown Music.
Okay.
That's what we're working on right now. One with the Civic Center or the Convention Center, and then probably one at Sutton Park and one downtown Braden, and it'll feature all of our homegrown musicians that are here, which are plenty. I mean, of Sam and Bella and those Andy Purcell, for instance, is from here. He just signed a national deal with Salt Life, the T-shirt promotion company.
Okay.
He's releasing his first national video this weekend. He's from Arcadia, but he met me through my power line break, and he was a lineman. But now he's a full-time musician.
There you go.
So you just never know where they're going to come from. But we probably have about 40 musicians, somewhere around there, that are actually earning their living. Since they went through the foundation, they play. That's all they do is play music. And you can't get any better than that.
There
And
you
you're
go.
paying your way.
Yeah.
Matt Walden is one of them. Trevor Bystrom's from here. And they're not all from here, but most of them are from here. So, I mean, I can't ask for anything better than that,
Cool.
you know.
Dale, we appreciate you being here this morning, man.
Oh, absolutely.
What a pleasure. Tell us how the community can support the foundation, I guess.
Well, we don't usually ask for donations too often, but we have a few.
And we won't, but
Yeah,
if you
we
could-
have a few people that help us on a regular basis, but we survive strictly on donations or what I give myself to the foundation. I mean, our operating budget is not huge. One good thing about being the nonprofit we are, we have 0 expenses. Nobody gets paid. We pay no rent. We pay no electric.
So,
100% of the money goes right to the program, which is unusual in today's market.
so is there a website?
Yeah, it's Del Couch Music Education Foundation. We're redoing it right now to update it with some of the successes we've had, because I'm so busy doing everything. I'm not a web person, but
I get it.
we are updating that, and of course they can always, Google me and reach out that way too. We have there's a lot of stuff on the internet about what we do. So
Or if your car breaks down in his front yard, you
Yeah.
can contact him that
or
way.
we'll push you into the driveway.
Yeah.
And
Still,
now Jim plays
absolutely.
the guitar as a result of that.
There,
so,
there you go.
yeah.
Yeah.
Dale, thanks again, my friend.
Sure,
what
absolutely.
an honor and a
Thank you.
privilege to have you in this
Thank
morning.
you guys. Thank
Okay, everybody, it's Jim Hagemeyer with the Leslie Wells Realty Company at Tom and Jim's Awesome Real Estate Adventure. Thanks so much.
Take care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.